because I realize how bad I want a change in my life. I realize how bad I want progress in my life. I realize how bad I want stability. I realize how bad, I'm not saying my life is not stable. I realize how I have big goals. I have big aspirations. Like, I want this podcast to be worldwide. I want, other things to be, I want But then I realize it is moments where I may not have instant gratification. I may not see it until I see it. Well, what's up, family? Welcome back to I know. You ain't been on for a while. But welcome back to Legacy Builders Podcast, where we don't just talk about success. We build it with one decision, one season, one legacy at a time. I'm your host, Jaheim President, your teacher, your preacher, your nephew, your uncle. And today we're talking about the fourth quarter. Let me say that again. We're talking about the fourth quarter, the final quarter of the year. October, November, and December. And that is the stretch where champions are made, where your focus is tested, and where your purpose gets refined. And I want to start with this. Everybody wants to start strong. But how many people finish strong? We made it through 9 months of highs, lows, wins, and lessons. But this last stretch determines how this chapter, this story of your life, 2025, how will it close? And I think that is why the fourth quarter of any game, and this is bothering me, I'll let them be like, all right, the last quarter of any game, if anybody that plays sports, that is truly where you win and lose. I remember playing football, and in the summer we did these things called 4 quarters. And we would run. It was a conditioning, and our coach would always say, how you perform now is how you're going to perform in the fourth quarter. When you start to tighten up, that's when you feel fatigued. That's when you feel at your best. And some of us have coasted through these first quarters. Some of us have gained momentum. At the beginning of the year, we're always happy, and then we move to that point, in the middle of the year, that's when then we get excited again. But it is in these last quarters is about closing gaps mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally. What are you going to do? What's going to be your mindset going into this fourth quarter? Because can I tell you this? It's in your fourth quarter that prepares you for the next year of your life, 2026. And can you believe that some of the greatest things happen in these last months? No, you could have been, and what I like about it, in parallel to sports, you could be losing. You could be losing all 3 quarters. You could have gained momentum first quarter, lost momentum second quarter, completely in the third quarter, but in the fourth quarter, you find something about yourself again. You find hope. And can I tell y'all that is where I was at. And that is where I am at. I went to the gym. And I realized it's in these, I can soap, I can complain about what's been going wrong in my life. I can complain about what's been going wrong in these quarter of my life. Y'all, life update. I'm in the process of getting my master's. And the process, I moved. Y'all told you I moved over summer. Um, and you know what took a back burner? I'm not gonna lie to y'all. What took a back burner is my podcast. And I gained. Look, I was gaining momentum. I had my friends on. I had people guests on. I was gaining good content, was building content. And what I was lacking, like my TikTok is growing, but what I was lacking was like, Jaheim, this is a part of your ministry. This podcast is your baby. I'm telling you, y'all, it is my baby. And it is in there that I had to realize that this was one of my goals that I wrote down in January to get 50 episodes. We're not there yet. Nah. But what I could have done, there's two lesser evils. What I could have done is soak that I didn't get the intended goal at the beginning of the year. I didn't execute the checkbox. But here's it is. How can you rewrite the goal? And many of us, sometimes we have high expectations of the year. We were writing it down in the first quarter. But then how can we later in life, later in this journey, later in your fourth quarter, October, you cannot change what happened these last couple months. You can't. We don't have a time machine. We don't have this. But okay, how are we going to refocus? How are we going to do that? Because before you can finish strong, you got to climb out of the pit of where you've been sitting at. Let me say that again. Before we can pivot now, we're gonna get ready to pivot. Before we can pivot, we have to live and we have to see and we have to climb out of that pit. But before we come out of the pit, I want you to write down what were your goals that still deserve your attention in October. What are your goals that you can still do? Because some of us we're looking at other things, but look at your goals. I have all my goals written down in my note section of my phone, and I look at them daily, and I look at them, and then I have to realize, and this is something main thing that many of us have to do. We have to realize, what did we do wrong? I think some of us are so easy to say what other people did wrong, and other people could have done you wrong. But how did you lose focus? What was the thing, the person, the place, the environment that made you lose focus? And I realized for me, and I'm a pourer of other people. I pour into other people. I give my all, family, friends, whatever. But I realize that it's not selfish to start pouring back into yourself. It's not selfish to take those times to retreat, to take those times to refocus your goals, refocus. And I think many of us we feel like we're doing people a disservice when we just pull back sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to pull back. Sometimes it's okay. And even here it is. And I've always told myself, even with this podcast, I am not going to fake the funk. So if I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it. And I'm not going to pour. I'm not going to give y'all something that's fake and I don't feel like it's authentic of me. And so I had to take the season and really discover. And so back to the line, before we can finish strong in this year, you have to climb out of the pit that you've been sitting in. What are you talking about, Jaheim? It's the pity party that you've been sitting in. It is the scribe. These are the moments that when life knocks you down, you start settling in the pain instead of fighting out of it. So that could be a loss of a loved one. Grief is not really a pity party, but grief is a pit that we can fall in. It could be depression. It could be relationship goals, whether that may be friends or family or significant others. You fall into that pit because here it is. It starts. It's like a fight. It's like a heavyweight fight, and some jabs of life hit us harder than what we thought was we were be able to rebound from. So here it is. You go in life and you get hit. hit, never train, never recover. And just like us, it takes so much time for you to keep getting hit to where you're not going to get back up. And that's how we have to manage our lives, because it is so easy sometimes not to go into that recovery mode. See, here's the difference. There's a difference between the pit and recovery mode. May look similar. It's not, because some of us, we're living in pity parties. Oh, why me? Why this? Why that? Why did they have to leave? Why did I lose the job? And there is a grieving period of everything. There is a grieving period of losing someone, losing a job, losing but what the trickiness of life is, and what the trickiness of this is, you cannot let your pity party consume your growth. And so you'll start settling in it. You'll start disbelieving, and you'll start tearing down the things that you've already built. And can I tell y'all that is a dangerous place to be? I've lived in that space. I'm living in a pity party. I posted some times ago today, if you're watching it today, I post, find a strategy. No more pity. I posted this, and this is, find a strategy. No, I said, get out of the pity parties, find a strategy, and lock in. And when I tell y'all, I was on that step of crying. That's what I love about the gym. And that's the gym is really where I talk to the Lord and where I recover. So when I'm ever in a bad season of my life, it's because I haven't had that time to recover and retreat. And sometimes mine's is active, talking to the Lord, so meditation, and going to the gym. When I'm at my best is when I'm going to the gym, because that is my period of time where I can escape the world and fix me. And through the exhaustion of working out in pain, I can fix me. Because what I've learned is my pits, which will lead to pity parties, is me feeling bad about myself, me going on binges of eating unhealthy habits. And I realize those two are always at recovery, and the pit party are always at work. And so you're not meant to decorate the pit. You're meant to climb out of it. Can I say this? The pit could be anything, and we all have different pits. But the pits, let me hear it, is the pits are necessary. You're gonna get blows in life. I'm not saying that everything's gonna be sunshine and rain. I've never said that. I never believed that, because it's never happened in my life. But I really do believe that sometimes it is easy for us, when we get tired of fighting, when we get tired of showing up, when we get tired of, because we don't see the instant results. Here it is. So just because we're not seeing the results that we think that we should have now, then that's when, I believe, that's when we stay in the pits longer, because we saying, me, I'm I use me as an example because I am me. I'm talking about this gym journey. I'm just like, oh my God, come on. And when I get frustrated and quit for seasons of times, so a couple of times, when I quit, and then I start looking at my pictures, not like high school pictures, but pictures like 2024 when I was going strong, I realized that there was a change happening. My body was changing. My skin was good, man. But it wasn't happening. I think I wasn't getting the greater results I've seen other people. And so I realized that, my journey, weight loss journey, is going to be different, because I have to balance when I have to stop falling into the pits. So when I don't see it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I can get this burger. I don't eat burgers. I can get this fry. I can get this pound cake. I can get this other. And I realize, no, Jaheim, that is, just because you don't see the results right then and there, that is not your segue to go into one of your pits. Can I tell you this? Just because you don't see the results right then and there, that is not your time and it's not an excuse to go into one of your pits and stay there. Let me say that again. Just because you don't see the results that you want, not saying that there's no results, the results that you want, and it's not coming fast enough, that is not giving you an excuse to go in your pit and stay there. Because how sometimes you can't heal in the same environment that has continued to hurt you. You know, me, how am I supposed to lose weight if I keep getting pound cake? That's not gonna work. How am I gonna continue to heal if I'm around people that don't push vision? I learned something about myself, that that sometimes in life it is okay to be alone, but you want to be around like-minded people that are heading in the direction that you want to go. And it's okay sometimes that you got to pivot, even then. And so you have to first step out of the pit is honesty. You got to be honest with yourself. If you ain't gonna be honest with yourself, who is? God, let me say that again. If you ain't gonna be honest with yourself, then who is? If you ain't gonna be honest with yourself, then who is? Who is? Who is? If you ain't gonna look, that's my new single. If you ain't gonna be honest with yourself, then who is? Who is? Who is? But you have to be real with yourself. And you have to be real with where you are. I realize that. And I realize that that's easier said than done, because the hardest person you're gonna face is the inner you. And that's truthfully, that's one of your greatest enemies, yourself, because you're the hardest on yourself. But you have to be honest with yourself. I have to be honest with myself. I said, hey, I am big. Big bone. Whatever. I'm big. And it's not even big. My stomach is big. And that all comes from what I'm eating. Even self-care, like, Jaheim, come on, man. You know, there's periods of time where I slip through where I'm just like even now, I need a haircut. I am getting a haircut, y'all. So not too much. But dreamers are afraid to start after failure. Some dreamers are, if the business didn't work the first time, then you're afraid, overwhelmed. Parents, when you're overwhelmed, you putting everyone else first. Young adults, comparing ourselves. So a season, and I had to have a come to Jesus moment. I had to come to Jesus moment, about myself a couple of weeks ago. I had to shut down the noise. I had to shut off the noise, and I had to realize, I wasn't, locked in with my master's program. I wasn't locked in. I wasn't locked in, and I had to realize that because I wasn't locked in those areas, I felt like I was feeling in other areas, and so I had to realize I had to I had to reset. I had to get out those pits, and I had to make time for me. And for me, it was going to the gym, cooking, like finding stuff to do, not living in that. I want it to happen right now, and because it's not happening right now, and I feel like a failure. No, no. And really, and this podcast episode is really birthed out of that, because I'm like, okay, Jaheim, all of the other stuff is gone. Where am I going to say nothing else? Because that come to Jesus moment is not religious, not only just religious. It's you saying enough is enough. Like, you coming to Jesus moment is like, okay, Lord, okay, Jesus, okay, thank you, Jaheim, come on. And I have many of those moments. And let me say this: that's not an all be all. No, I have many of those moments where, come on, because life be lifing. Life be living. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Life be lifing. Okay? Life be lifing. And when life be lifing, it's just so easy to go into those moments when you want to go back to comfort, where you want to go back to where it's easy, something easy, someone easy, a place that is easy. But it is in those moments where you fight against the grind, where you fight against what you fight against yourself and say, no, I'm not gonna live here. I'm not gonna live in this pit anymore. And there are times where when tears turn into, I'm telling y'all, I was crying the other day in the gym, because I realize how bad I want a change in my life. I realize how bad I want progress in my life. I realize how bad I want stability. I realize how bad, I'm not saying my life is not stable. I realize how I have big goals. I have big aspirations. Like, I want this podcast to be worldwide. I want, other things to be, I want But then I realize it is moments where I may not have instant gratification. I may not see it until I see it. And you have to tell yourself, are you willing enough to grind, to work, to sacrifice, to have those come to Jesus moments, to say enough is enough, and to continue going until you see it? Or it comes down to you. Do you have enough in you? God, I feel good. Do you have enough in you to say, okay, I'm a put my head down. I'm gonna work. I'm still gonna have self-care. I'm still gonna have this. I'm still gonna have that. I'm still gonna make sure I'm well rounded, but I'm not gonna peak up until I see it. I'm gonna celebrate myself along the way for making many milestones, and that's why I like breaking up my years into quarters, because you have many milestones in the year. You really do. But then you work and you know that your work is going to pay off. You know that this is going to pay off, and you tell yourself, I'm not going to be satisfied until I see it. And it may shift. Some seasons may shift. I may have to focus here and there, but I'm not going to be satisfied too. And so I remember I had to stop blaming people. I have to stop waiting for apologies and start rebuilding my own focus. That is one of the greatest things and the greatest enemy to you becoming is you start worrying about other people. And you start worrying about other things that have absolutely nothing to do with you. We too nosy in this world. I realized that. I was like, man, my greatest thing that was stopping me was I'm too nosy. And I can admit it, I'm too nosy. And I realized I'm so focused on other things, other people, other situations that by the time I try to do this, do that, and do that, I realize, okay, what is the time for me? What time left do I have for me? And I had to start realizing that, listen, there are some people I gotta forgive, and I'm working on it. I'm a living witness. I'm working on it. But that doesn't mean I always have to be in their presence. Don't switch this. Don't make people realize that once you forgive. No, I can forgive you from a distance. I can love you, but I know you're not good for me. I know in this space that I'm in right now. I know. Look, and then you have to start rebuilding your focus. It is time to get in this fourth quarter. Rebuild your focus. Rebuild your focus. Let me say that again. Rebuild your focus. Stop majoring in the minors and start majoring in the majors. And you know who the majors is? You. What are you here for? What is your dreams? What is your aspiration? What is destiny pulling you towards? and begin to focus on that. Ah, oh, Mike, I tell you, one of the most powerful people in life are the people who have laser focus. I think I talked about this last year. The people who have laser focus, they can be able to spin anything. And so when you get tired of the pit, you start digging for your purpose. So when are you going to get tired and say, I'm going to dig for my purpose? I'm going to dig for my purpose. I'm going to start digging. This fourth quarter is all about purpose. This say it with me. This whole fourth quarter is about regaining my focus so I can dig into purpose. And so you have to, and once you focus, you have to realize the treasure that's within you to win. Let me say that again. The treasure within you to win. And so you will pivot from struggle to discovery. So the treasure isn't out there, it's in who you become when you stop running from yourself. Listen, I come back. I always, what I like about this is I always come back with some fire after I've been through some stuff with these podcasts. I promise you, I do. It's the treasure isn't out there. No, the treasure is in who you become when you stop running from yourself. So then the question becomes, who do you want to become? And then the question becomes, who are you now? See, here it is. And let me pause this. Don't focus so much. You're gonna become everything. Focus on where you are now. Who are you now? What do you need to build and learn in your now? In your now. And so, I don't like I don't like to preach on here. I'm not preaching. Sometimes God has to bury you so that He can grow you. Sometimes He has to cut all ties from what you think you want. He has to cut all ties from what he has to bury you for a season. And He has to tell you, now, let's go. And so I want you in this fourth quarter to find what makes you you, and let's build. Look. You have nowhere else to go but up. You have nowhere else to go but up. And so when you finally meet the real you, you'll stop auditioning for rooms you were born to lead. When you finally meet the real you, you'll stop auditioning for rooms you were born to lead. Let me say that again. When you finally focus on you, meet the real you, you'll stop auditioning for rooms you are born to lead. And then here it is. You'll stop auditioning for rooms that you're never meant to be in. You'll stop auditioning for rooms that you're meant to lead, and then you'll stop auditioning for rooms that you were never meant to be in. And that's where focus comes in. You'll realize what's yours was supposed to be yours, what's not supposed to be yours, was meant to have your energy, was not meant to have your energy. And so as we end this episode, I promise y'all we're gonna be back every Monday once again as we start our week. Focusing on this. The fourth quarter isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more intentional. The fourth quarter is not about adding more to your plate, about adding more to your plate to feel busy, to feel seen. No, the fourth quarter is about being more intentional about your time, intentional about your space, intentional about what you got to do. And so, and this is my challenge. I like to leave y'all with a challenge. Write down any unfinished goals that you have. That you can start. Identify one pit It could be one pit a month. You can focus on one pit for October, one pit for November, one pit for December, one pit you're climbing out of. Me, I'm climbing out of procrastination. I am climbing out of that pit. That pit has me. I'm climbing out of that pit of procrastination, and I'm climbing out of the pit of laziness. I gotta get that lazy spirit off of me. And commit to one habit that aligns to who you really are. Find a habit and grow in that habit. And then I want to end with this. Finish the year like the legacy you're building depends on it, because it really does. It really does. Finish this year strong, like your legacy like the legacy you're building depends on it, because it does. We're waiting for you to produce. We're not rushing you. We want you to produce in your season, in your time. But we want you to get out of that pit. We want you to be less distracted, so you can become everything that you're meant to become. God, it feels good to be back. It really does. Y'all know I love these conversations, because while I'm helping y'all, I'm helping myself. So, family, we'll be back next Monday for our Legacy Builders podcast. Make sure you're tuning in and subscribing at Jaheim President TV. Make sure you are liking and share, commenting. And I believe that we have something bigger planned. Just don't know when. So, family, love you. See you next time here on Legacy Builders Podcast. Sponsored, or not sponsored, on Jaheim President TV on YouTube.